In this video, I'll show you how sequencing actually works on the Tangerine, how everything fits together, and we'll answer the question, does sequencing really suck on the Tangerine? This beat was made entirely on the Tangerine. I wanted to do something skittery, something drilling bassy. I'm going to show you how we do it. One of the biggest strengths of the Tangerine sequencer is how fast it is to get ideas down. You can quickly record parts, and the sequencer can go all the way up to 256 steps, which I love. That makes it easy to build long patterns that evolve. You can also change the step resolution, which lets you completely change the feel of a pattern without re-recording it. This is really fun to experiment with triplet versus straight rhythms. But the trade-offs you need to know about. There's no quantize after recording, so what you play is what you get. You can't turn off the quantize function also. The undo function only lets you go back one step, so if you overwrite something by accident, there's no deep undo history. And finally, you can't independently edit what's been recorded on each pad. So if you like most of the take, but you just want to fix, say, the bass line, you cannot edit that in isolation. You need to re-record the whole thing. I personally like these limitations because I feel like they force me to commit to things, and that helps my creative process. That may not be the case for you. If you love to tinker forever, if you love to edit forever, then the Tangerine is not for you. All right, let's make something. So we're going to focus today on sequences. So with this pad, we are going to long press the home button to pull up the teleporter. We're going to focus on the sequence home and the sequence config. So the sequence home has 16 slots where you can save sequences as long as 256 steps per sequence. You can write very long passages in the Tangerine, which I think is a great advantage. At the top, you're going to see a little hamburger, and that's going to give you the options that are available on the sequence section. There are only a few. All right, this hamburger right here. So you can copy sequence, you can paste sequence, you can clear sequence, and you can undo a sequence. Again, you can only undo the last thing you did, which is a limitation. All right, let's long press the home button. And what we're going to do is we're going to tap on sequence home for a sec to show you that we are currently on sequence 1, S1. So when you open up the seq config, you're on sequence 1. You have a step length, and you have a step count. That can go up to 256, but for this example, we're going to do a 64 step recording. Okay, I've loaded up a drum kit. If you want to know more about loading kits, you can check out episode number 2. Everything is mapped to this keyboard, and you'll notice that the very first key is C4. When you load a multi-sample, a lot of times they're going to start on C2. So you can adjust the octaves by using these back and forward arrows. Let's choose a kick. That'll do. Long press the arrow, arm the metronome, reduce the BPM, hit record and play. Well, that was pretty bad, so we don't like that. Let's undo it. Long press the home button. That'll bring us back to the teleporter. Go into the sequence home, the hamburger, clear sequence. Okay, so in this example, we used the keyboard to enter those kicks. But there's another way to do this where if you click the right button, think about the right button sometimes when you're selected as going another menu deep into the tool. This is going to pull up a grid, and that grid is assignable by key. So you can select the key and the scale. In the case of drums, you probably want chromatic. Now it's a little harder to do the chromatic because the boxes in the grid are smaller, but it's very helpful. All right, we have a snare, a couple snares, hi-hat. Let's record this. All right, since this is drill and bass, let's speed this up a little, or a lot. Let's use that same approach to add a bass. I've loaded another multi-sample. This is called warm bass. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the scale and key. So I'm going to put it in D sharp, minor pentatonic. And this is going to limit the grid so I can't make any mistakes. I'll never be out of key no matter what I do. Let's drop this grid down an octave using the arrow keys. So the bass is kind of quiet. I'm a huge believer in lowering volumes first, not raising them. So we're going to lower the drum volume. Next, I'm going to add a Rhodes keyboard. Now, you can do this different ways. You can plug in a MIDI controller and you could play notes on a piano, as you would. You could try and play the chords on the grid using this tiny, tiny touchscreen, or you could do what I like to do, which is use the scale and key grid and enter the notes one or two at a time. All right, that sounds dry and not great. So what we're going to do is add some effects to give it a little life. Much better. I'm going to make some minor adjustments to the mix, and I'm going to throw in some percussion. Let's see what we get. Alright, so here's a perfect example of tinkering. I sped this thing up. I added some percussion. After I sped it up, I'm not sure if I like it. But there's a cool little trick. And this is our little bonus trick for the day. If you go back to the seat config menu, sometimes if something's, I like the pieces, but it's not working for me. The groove is not working. Sometimes what I do is I drop it down to a 1/8 triplet, and see what that sounds like. All right, so this is definitely like a typewriter sounding groove now. But you can see how lowering the length gives you a different swing, gives you a different groove, which is a great way to mix it up if you get bored. In the end, I went back to a speedier kind of drill and bass thing, a couple tweaks here and there. I'm pretty happy with it now. So there you go. There's sequencing on the Tangerine. It's pretty limited, but I think there's a lot of creativity to be found within those limitations. Let me know what else you want to see, and see you next time.